Imagine being swept into a romance so fast. The world can barely keep up. 5 months after meeting, you're married to one of the most famous women in Hollywood. The cameras are flashing. The headlines are glowing, but behind the scenes, doubts start creeping in. And for David Justice, those doubts came with one life-changing question: is this really the woman I want to raise a family with? The whirlwind start. It was May of 1992 when David Justice and HalleBerry first crossed paths, a chance meeting that quickly turned into something much bigger. Berry, already a rising star in Hollywood, was captivated by the Atlanta Braves outfielder, and the feeling seemed mutual. Just 5 months later, in a move that would shock even their closest friends, Berry asked Justice to marry her. He said yes, but not because he'd been planning it or felt completely ready. As he later admitted, the moment caught him off guard. How do you say no to HalleBerry at the height of her fame? The proposal felt like a fairy tale on the outside, but for Justice, there was a flicker of hesitation he didn't quite understand at the time, a quiet voice wondering if they were moving too fast. Growing doubts and traditional expectations. For the first few months, everything felt like the perfect honeymoon, but as the glow began to fade, Justice's Midwest upbringing started clashing with the reality of life with a Hollywood star. He had grown up with a traditional image of marriage, where a wife cooked, kept the home, and naturally leaned into a maternal role. Berry, meanwhile, was laser-focused on her career, often away on set and uninterested in fitting into that old-fashioned mold. Justice recalls quietly asking himself, if we have kids, is this the woman I want to raise them with? It wasn't about her talent, her beauty, or her ambition, those were undeniable. It was about whether their visions for family life were even on the same page, and as that question lingered, the cracks in their relationship began to show. Distance wears a relationship down. As the years went on, the miles between them weren't just physical, they were emotional. Berry's acting career had her bouncing from country to country, filming back-to-back projects. Justice was deep in the grind of Major League Baseball, with its relentless travel schedule and pressure-filled seasons. Weeks apart turned into months, and those early questions about compatibility now had space to grow into real doubts. They weren't fighting constantly or dealing with scandal. It was quieter than that. Just two people, slowly drifting in separate directions. Looking back, Justice believes things might have been different if they'd understood the value of therapy back then. If we knew about therapy, we probably could have made it. He reflected, a bittersweet realization that came decades too late. But in the moment, the distance felt like a slow, unstoppable tide pulling them further apart. Inexperience versus major conflict. What's striking about David Justice's account is that there was no explosive fight, no scandal splashed across tabloids, no unforgivable betrayal. Instead, he points to something far less dramatic but just as destructive: youth and inexperience. Before marrying Berry, he'd only been in one serious relationship, and navigating life with a global celebrity was uncharted territory. Small misunderstandings went unresolved, unspoken expectations piled up, and neither had the tools to bridge the growing gap. In Justice's mind, they weren't doomed by a single moment, but by the slow accumulation of unaddressed issues. It was a quiet unraveling, proof that sometimes, the end of a relationship isn't about one big mistake, but about never learning how to navigate the everyday one. Looking back with clarity, decades later, David Justice speaks about that marriage without bitterness, just a sense of perspective he didn't have back then. He admits he didn't fully understand what a healthy, lasting partnership required, and that therapy or better communication might have rewritten their story. He can now see how his own expectations, shaped by where and how he grew up, clashed with Berry's life in the fast lane of Hollywood. It wasn't that one of them was right and the other wrong, it was that they were on different tracks from the start. With time, the hurt faded, replaced by the recognition that sometimes two good people just aren't the right fit. For Justice, that clarity didn't come overnight, it took years, another marriage, and the grounding experience of raising his own children to truly understand it. Life after divorce. After their split was finalized in 1997, both David Justice and HalleBerry moved forward on very different paths. Justice remarried in 2001 to Rebecca Villalobos, building a family and becoming a father of 3. Away from the constant Hollywood spotlight, he found a steadier rhythm, one that matched the kind of home life he'd once envisioned. Berry's journey took her through other high-profile relationships and marriages, each with its own public scrutiny. She's since spoken openly about the lessons she's learned, pushing back on the narrative that she can't keep a man and instead reframing it as refusing to keep the wrong one. Today, she's in a relationship with musician Van Hunt, sharing glimpses of a more grounded happiness. For both, life after divorce became a chance to redefine what love and commitment mean, proving that sometimes an ending is just the start of a better chapter. Looking back, David Justice's marriage to HalleBerry is less a tale of celebrity scandal and more a story about timing, expectations, and the realities that set in when the spotlight fades. It's a reminder that even the most glamorous beginnings can't guarantee a lasting future if the foundation isn't aligned. Justice now speaks with the calm of someone who's lived, learned, and found peace with the past, acknowledging that love needs more than attraction and excitement. It needs understanding, communication, and a shared vision. Berry, too, has reframed her journey, embracing the idea that walking away from what doesn't work is just as important as holding on to what does. In the end, their story isn't about who was right or wrong, it's about two people discovering, in their own ways, that the wrong match, no matter how dazzling, will never outshine the right fit. And for anyone watching, that's a lesson worth remembering.